Hello, Honors Algebra. Mr. Lawrence here with your flipped lesson for Monday, February 6th. All right, I want to help you out here, guys. This is a pretty cool topic we're going to discuss tonight. Okay, excuse me. This equation can be used to calculate growth or decay of things over time. It is a very powerful equation. It's used in finance. If you want to invest, say, $10,000 and you want to know how much money you will have at the end of a certain time period, like 1 year or 5 years, this formula can tell you. This formula can tell you if a population of a city is decreasing, or if why would you care if a population of a city is decreasing? Well, if you're a mayor of the city, you might care, or worked on the city council. Better yet, it can even tell you the rate of, it can tell you if population of fish is decreasing. And that might be a serious thing, because if you overfish an area, eventually there won't be any more fish. There won't be enough fish left to reproduce to keep up with the amount of fishing taking place, and the fish will be all gone, and then you won't have the food anymore. All right? This equation is very powerful. Now, it's got a lot of letters, and I'm sure some of you are intimidated by it, but it's really, really simple. T stands for time in years. In years. So if you're talking 6 months, you wouldn't put a 6 in there. You would put a 5/10, 0.5 in there. Okay? R is the percent as a decimal. Uh-oh, we've got some lag going on. I think I fixed the lag issue. Oh, no, apparently not. All right, as a decimal, I have a random E in my problem. Let me get rid of that E. There we go. I'll hide him behind the recorder. He may show up and peek in on you from time to time. All right, the percent as a decimal. So if you know that something is growing at 10%, you would put 0.1 there. If you know something is decaying at 7%, you'd put 0.07 there. All right. The 1 saves us 2 steps. It saves us from having to do a second step. A lot of times, if you want to know how much money you'll have, kids would like to figure out the percentage of the growth and then find that answer and then go add it to the original amount. Putting that 1 there says I don't have to do that. My answer will be the final amount. Okay? P is the principal. And I don't mean the Mr. Morgan. He's the Prince P-A-L because he's your pal. This is the principal. This is the amount of money you start with, or the amount that you begin with. The amount that you start with. Okay. A is the ending amount. The ending amount. Right? The ending amount. And it's specifically after the T years. All right, let's see how to use this. This is super duper simple. Let's say, I know some of you do some religious things coming up here in the spring. Sometimes you'll make confirmations in your church, or maybe you have maybe a graduation gift for 8th grade. You know, parents might give you some money to put away for college or something. Let's say that in the springtime of this year, they give you receive in gifts $5,000. It's from all your aunts and uncles and friends. It doesn't really matter, you know, what it's for. If it's a religious thing, or if you graduate school, it doesn't really matter. Okay, let's say you receive $5,000, and you're going to be really smart. All right, you decide, you know what, $5,000 would be cool to go and blow it, but then it'd be gone. I'd like to have more money when I get out of high school. Well, you're going to graduate high school in 4 years, right? In 4 years. And let's say that this takes place in June that you get it. And so that would be June of 2012, right? Okay. Well, at the end of 2013, you'd be a freshman, so there's 1 year, right? That would be 9th. You'd leave 9th grade. And then 14, you'd leave 10, and then 15, leave 11, and then 16, you'd be graduated. You'd be out of 12. So we're talking 4 years of time. So in 4 years, you're hoping to have more money. All right, so 4 years time. All right, and let's say that you found a promotional interest rate just for first-time investors, a CD, which means a certificate of deposit. What a CD is you go and you give the bank some money, and then you aren't allowed to touch the money for a specified period of time. And once that time period is up, you get more money than if you just left it in a bank account. Usually it's a lot more. Let's pretend that the banks have a special, getting ready for college 4-year CD. So you can't touch this $5,000 for 4 years. But they're going to give you 8% interest. All right. Now you're trying to decide, is this a good thing? How much more money will I have at the end of, my high school career? All right. So you can use that formula. It was A equals P times the quantity of 1 plus or minus R to the power T. All right. We already said 4 is the time. So I'm going to put a 4 in for T. Now the rate is 8%, but I'm going to do it as a decimal. And a lot of you make this mistake. You might want to convert it right away. It's 0.08. 0.08. Now, this money is growing, so I'm going to use the positive. If it were decaying, I would use the negative. I'll say that again. Since the thing we are investing is growing, we're using the positive. If it were decaying, I would use the negative. All right. The 1 is just part of the formula. It saves us a step later. And the principal is the amount we start with, the $5,000. Okay. Now from here, you don't really know how to simplify this without going to the calculator. I mean, you could do this, but I'm going to go ahead and go right to the calculator from this point, because to me it's a waste of time to take 1 800 times 1 800 times 1 800 times 1 800. I mean, what if you were investing it for 20 years? You'd have to multiply 1 800 together, 20 of those together, and then multiply by 5,000. And that's just an exercise in time wasting. So I am going to go ahead and try to get to my calculator. Hold on one second. Okay, I've got my calculator up. Let me get my screen so that I can see both things at the same time. And all I'm going to type in is what I see. I'm going to go with 5,000 times the quantity of 1.08. Now, I could have left it as 1. I'll even do this for some of you. Some of you are going to be confused by that, so I'll just leave that plus in there, because the calculator will take care of that for me. And then I have to close the quantity and raise it to the 4th power. Okay, when I hit enter, I'm going to know exactly to the penny, I might have to round, how much money I will have at the end of the 4 years, or you will have. And look at that, you'll have $6,802.44 in your bank account in that CD when it matures. Now, let's say that you decide to leave that money in the bank. Okay? You're going to leave that money in the bank because you got a scholarship to college and you don't have to pay for anything. You thought, man, when I get out of college, I'd like to have some money, some startup money to get an apartment, to buy furniture, things like that. So you're going to take that $6,802, and let me see if I can bounce back and forth here. A equals $6,802.44. And you're going to renew the CD. But this time you can't get the promotional rate because it's not new. But let's pretend the economy's improved and interest rates have gotten a little bit better. And let's say we're going to invest it for 5 years, because getting out of college in 4 years these days, it gets really tough. So we're going to invest it for 5 years. And this time the bank is going to give you 4%. Now, 4% may not seem like a whole lot, but right now it'd be pretty hard to find a CD for 4%. Interest rates are so low. All right. Well, again, I'm just going to do the same problem. Let me see here. I'm going to set up A, and that's going to be equal to $6,802.44 1 plus 0.04, and this time it's for $5. So 6802.44 times a quantity of 1 plus 0.04, and we said it was a period of 5 years. And there you go. Look at that. Your money would be at $8,276.21 rounded. Okay, that's a pretty good deal. That is a pretty good deal. You would graduate college and you'd go maybe get a job. You need some relocation money. You need to get an apartment. Well, apartments usually require first month and last month's rent. As long as you don't get too expensive apartment, you could afford to pay that. You're going to need some furniture. You might want a television. You're going to need to buy some groceries to start off. Okay? Having that extra $8,000 sitting and waiting for you would be a really cool thing to happen. There's a lot of people graduate college who barely have a penny to their name. And by the time they put their deposit down for an apartment or whatever, they have a hard time buying groceries until they get their first paycheck. And usually you don't get your first paycheck at the end of the week. Usually it takes a couple weeks for you to get your very first one. Okay, one more type of problem we're going to look at. Let's pretend that this time, and I'll be coming back to the graphing calculator. Hold on one sec. Okay, check out this problem. Today, a classic car is worth $32,000. You know, some of those classic cars you see driven around, they're in really good shape. Typically, a car depreciates in value. It goes down in value. You buy a new car, the second you drive it off the lot, it loses like 20 to 30% of its value. But a classic car that's in mint shape, that's really taken care of, those go up in value because people value them and they want to pay more for them. So you've got a classic car today that's worth $32,000. Its value has been growing at a rate of 2.5% for 12 years. What was the worth or the value of the car? What was the car worth 12 years ago? Well, again, we're just going to use the same formula. And I'm actually going to use it the same way. I know two ways to do this, but I'm going to show you a different way that my students came up with about 5 years ago. And I like it better than the way I thought about it. I thought about it a little bit more challenging. And I could do it, get the right answer, but my students, Ben Krieger comes to mind, came up with an idea, Josh Gray too, I think, that I think is a lot easier. Now, if you don't like this idea, come talk to me at class, after class or something, and I'll show you the way I would think about it. Okay, so we're going $32,000 as our principal, because that's our starting place, right? Because today it's worth $32,000. We're still solving for A. Our rate is going to be 0.025, right? Because it's not 25%, it's 0.25%. And we want to know 12 years ago. We want to know 12 years in the past. So we're going to make our time a negative 12. Okay. And then I can just go back to my graphing calculator, plug this in, and I will know the value. All right. So let's see here. I can't find my calculator. There it is. All right. Oops, it won't let me go smaller than that. So let me clear all this out. And I know it's $32,000. 1 plus 0.025. And I'll raise that to the negative 12th power. And there we go. Now, by the way, if you're wondering about this 0.025, remember, to convert a decimal to a percent, I always divide by 100. So 2.5 divided by 100 is 0.025. All right. Okay, so here we go. There we go. It was worth $23,793 and approximately 79 cents. Okay, so what is 2379379? 2379379. Approximately. Okay, because we had to round. Approximately that value. That's a pretty decent investment. All right, this is a really real life skill that you can use. I mean, you can use this to help you figure out lots of things. It's used in all different walks of life. All right, I'm under my 15-minute rule, which is pretty cool. Quinn won't get too upset. And I hope he doesn't threaten me by telling me he's going to watch Star Wars again, and then he's going to tell me that somebody else said that. All right, Mr. Lawrence signing off.